Welcome to Evolving Ideas. I'm Elaine Smitha. I'm so very privileged to bring to you John Hutchison tonight as my guest. He is an inventor, a scientist from Canada, and the last show that we did was in 1994. And he is a legend in his own time, having developed an extraordinary phenomena that is called the Hutchison effect, named after him. And now 2 scientists have been able to replicate his work, so that puts it into a whole nother league. Join me in welcoming John Hutchison. John, it's nice to have you back.
Pleasure. It's been a while, and good to see you again.
It's wonderful to see you. And you've been on quite a journey since the last time we met.
Almost unbelievable, yes.
Unbelievable.
Keeps me activated and full of lots of mischief and fun.
Well, you fit right in. You're kind of impish there.
Oh, I am?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are. You're a great big giant elf is what you are.
Yeah, you could say that. I have read Lord of the Rings and Hobbits and that, and I
see.
kind of believe in it. But no, I've been a lot of good adventures and fun, a lot of exploration.
Well, for our viewers, we have a whole new audience for this show, and they don't really know anything about John Hutchison. Mm-hmm. So can you very briefly tell the audience who you are?
My name is John Hutchison.
Yeah, we know that.
Okay. Well, I delved into Tesla's research for many years and made some major discoveries in Vancouver, Canada on levitation and molecular arrangements of metals of all types and configurations, which captured the scientific community in the early 80s. And they basically spiraled me up, pushing kind of behind me, saying, "Keep going, John, you're doing well," until I got involved in the old Ronald Reagan Star Wars program in about 83. Mm-hmm. And thought this is rather an interesting adventure, except I don't get anything back from these people except money.
Oh, that's a lot of people, that's all they want.
Well, I wanted some results and videos returned to me.
And they haven't returned them? Have they returned them to you yet?
No, not yet. There's an ongoing FOIA thing going on in England and Scotland to try and retrieve these videos. Nevertheless, they classified it, but Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander then brought in a friend, Jack Houck of McDonnell Douglas, to...
Oh, yes, my friend Jack Houck.
Yeah.
Yes, he's been a guest on the show.
So this one was not classified. Mm-hmm. And then after that, the Canadian government got involved, and Fort Worth, Texas got involved, taking videos and that, and unfortunately it was all classified. And I pulled away from this military kind of involvement because I really didn't like it, and I couldn't do TV shows. So.
Oh, that's probably true. Didn't the Canadian government confiscate your equipment at one point?
Oh, they took half of all the test machinery, all the machine tools, and returned to me all the test equipment. And they tried to keep it a big secret, but the Vancouver Sun found out about this, our main newspaper and news media. And it was a hermit under the bridge who said, "What's going on here?" Informed the Vancouver Sun, and then the headlines were, "Ministry secretly builds PCB site in Surrey, British Columbia." So, returning from Europe, I am
This all happened while you were gone?
Oh, this all happened when I was gone. I got the newspaper clippings from other journalists in Germany.
Such an invasion.
Oh, they're just a truly powerful invasion. This is on the highest levels with not only members of Parliament, but also the Prime Minister's office was involved in this stuff, and the Minister of Defense. And yet, through all this, never any of the return of the videos, even from these characters in the Defense Department.
No wonder you don't want to have anything to do with them anymore.
No, I want to cross the line and go south. I don't want anything to do with any governments. Mm-hmm. I don't harbor negative energy, and I do get along with some government people in the U.S. and maybe one in Canada. But I put out good energy, and they give me back good energy, and they try to help me and try to even locate my files and that, putting themselves out on risk.
Wow. In
risk, and this is all documented on letterheads and that. So it's been an ongoing battle to try and acquire the videos from the Canadian and U.S. government. And
interesting. Well, you were able to do magical things, or what people think as magical things with energies, with these Tesla coils and these energies that you've been building. You brought a sample over here. I'm looking at this large rod of aluminum.
Yeah.
And you, through the energies, it literally pulled it apart.
It's tapping in with advanced electromagnetics and advanced electrostatics, and with a small alpha beta flux of energy. And geometry is very important in this kind of configuration of apparatus, where you actually will have something almost like a major Casimir effect.
And what does that mean?
Well, Casimir effect is, when we stop and think of the Casimir effect, it's two metal plates that are charged. And if these plates are coming together, they create power from nothing, from 0-point energy.
Is that just reflective back and forth between those plates?
No, these plates are pulled together, and when they're pulled together...
Well, I mean, but there's an energy between those. You know what it kind of reminds me of? If you go like this with your hands, you know, and
vibration.
Then you put them together, and you kind of feel, you can feel a force, you know?
Yeah.
And so this is highly magnified, obviously, because of the energy that's transmitted. But can you hold those up so we can get the camera on those and show the people what this looks like?
Basically like this here, Elaine. To do this conventionally with RF energy, or even with a laser,
RF, which is radio frequency.
Yeah, or laser, would take terawatts of power. This is all done at a distance on plastic milk containers, which is all video recorded, by the way, which is interesting too. You can see the stuff all wiggling apart, falling apart, and spreading out all on the...
So these are, these were in milk cartons?
Sitting on milk cartons. It's
sitting
like,
on top of them?
Yeah, just like this, like we put here.
Uh-huh.
And these things would turn into a rubbery, messy stuff and would fall apart, and all on clear video. And once the machinery was stopped, these things would harden up, and we go over and pick them up. They're cold.
Amazing.
Cold to the touch. I have about 750 pounds of these things. This is aluminium to stainless steel, 4 inches in diameter, and about that long. So this shows you that there's some kind of major force here in nature that's doing this. And the radio frequencies and electrostatics are basically a keyway into this Casimir energy, let's call it, or 0-point energy.
Okay, so just to clarify, the Casimir is the same as 0-point energy? Are we talking synonymous terms here?
In a way, yes, because the Casimir effect is detecting, the Casimir cavity is where this energy can be detected and measured. So this brings into the scientific community the wording 0-point energy.
And 0-point energy really comes from Kelvin, what is it?
Zero Kelvin, yeah.
0 Kelvin, which is a lot lower in temperature than what we're using in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, very, very low.
So what is it? It's 200 and something or other, isn't it?
240 or so degrees Kelvin. Well, at that level, they say
degrees
that all...
below zero, in other words, if we were to try to find some point of reference here.
Yeah. Where all thermal activity is supposed to stop, but apparently this activity is very active at those temperatures.
Don't you find it interesting that they keep trying to categorize all these, things that are going on in science, and this is it, and that, it doesn't go any further than this. And then suddenly somebody discovers, wait a minute, look what we did.
Well, I think this is the ongoing thing all through history, is that science and discovery is always opening up all the time, in either genetics, in alternative health, in this kind of research, and right from A to Z. Everything is going on. And you get the old hogwash people saying, oh, that's hogwash, this can't happen, this is impossible. But then they go in history as, oh, well, old Lord Kelvin said that heavier than aircraft can't fly. Well, we know now you can get a jet to L.A. or wherever. It's the same old story. The impossible man.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, because really if we accept the paradigm that nothing is impossible, it opens the door to everything to being possible.
Such as the discovery of Fountain of Youth,
Yes,
perhaps
Fountain of Youth.
a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Telomerase.
Telomerase. Oh,
Yep.
yes. Well, that's not for this show.
No, okay, no, just one little example of many little things.
That's true. Yes, that's right. That's true. Well, when 0-point energy was discovered, What was if you know, what was the experiment that brought that into awareness?
Basically, it was Casimir who discovered that there's an energy between two metal plates.
I see.
And it was then labeled the Casimir effect.
They always named it after the scientists.
Mm-hmm. And it took great scientists as Mark Solis, Thomas E. Bearden, and many others that I know, Robert Forward, Ken Schollers, to sort of explain it in the fact that if you have a sugar cube size of this material in space and time that exists right in front of you and I, or anywhere, all over the place, in cubics.
And what would this material be, for instance?
It's it's classified as a electromagnetism in a way, where if you can harness that, you can harness power that can be distributed out. If you can harness that energy to its fullest, and you can actually power the Earth's energy needs for 1,000,000 years.
I remember on the show that we did back in 1994, you sat there and you said, all the energy in the universe is right here.
But that's all over, though. If I go from outside the studio, then I still can capture that same energy. It's not. It can be right here.
Well, it's exactly
here.
right. But I mean, the dimensions. When I think about this, say in a foot square. Space.
Yeah. If you just right here or right here, you can tap that energy.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. And it does exist.
Well, you've proven that it exists, as have others.
Casimir, yeah.
Yes, but I mean, you're taking it beyond that and doing other things with it too, as all scientists do when they get hold of a new idea. They explore it to see what its limits are.
So with these RF operators and electrostatics, there's a doorway of some type that's opened up there. I don't fully understand it yet myself, but I was having a lot of input from my scientific colleagues, Mark Solis, Tom Bearden, and many others, that what to look for in that, and they gave me inspiration in this area. So,
well, Tom Bearden has been a guest on this show a couple of times, and he is really a brilliant mind. And I haven't met Mark yet, but I hope to.
Oh, for sure.
Mark Solis, that would be really wonderful. Some of your experiments have really gone on from your metals thing to levitation, and we do have we have a little clip of that, and maybe our control room can get that queued up. And the one where you have the dish that's sitting on top of I don't know what it's sitting on top of.
Oh, it's a wooden dish over a slab of aluminum metal.
Oh, okay.
That's the one, I believe.
Yeah, and we used this footage in our show that we did before, back in 1994. But we have a lot of viewers who may not have seen that show. It's been many years already.
A long time.
So maybe if our control room get that set up, we can roll that now, and hopefully they'll get this going. So this is an example of your being, there we go, an example of you working away from this field. We have it on screen over here now, John. You can check it out. And I had said at the time that it reminded me of a turtle.
Yeah.
And also then I thought it kind of reminded me of some soldier in a dugout, kind of peering out.
Some of these effects are so funny. Actually, some of the effects are so funny. Some of them are quite hilarious. I mean, it does look like a little guy in a...
It does. It almost looks like that little visor, and he's looking out and taking a picture or something.
Yeah. That's wooden aluminium. They seem to be attracted to one another.
Oh, golly.
And that's 1988 time period, I believe.
1988. Now, you were really using, this was Tesla energy, Tesla coils that you were doing this with. Is that correct?
Mostly Tesla coils.
And you were doing it away, so this is energy that's being transmitted across distance.
Great distance, yes.
And at one time they thought that that you might be doing this psychokinetically.
Yeah, really?
Yes, that's what Jack Hout said.
I know what they say. It's not telekinetics in a way. I would think that the mind has a very sense to machines, yes. An empathic response to machinery and how to properly operate machinery. As with radio or ham radio operators or fine machine toolists or artists that can work with metals and produce something fantastic. I just had to, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but as Mark Solis said, he got an email from some other scientists, well, the Hutchison effect hasn't been reproduced, and Mark Solis emailed back, well, I wonder why, you know. It's just a matter of the fine, as an artist, doing my thing. I never set out in the world to be a scientist or any of these things, except I feel like E.T. I was discovered by Alexis Pizarro, who discovered me, and George D. Hathaway, and
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
with support of the John Alexander. And then this grew and grew and grew and grew. So they are credited in finding me and putting me out here.
Well, I'm glad somebody found you and put you out here.
Well, at least, yeah, okay. Abducted?
Yeah, really. Well, we have a little bit more footage because I want to show that next portion of this cannonball twirling in the air, and it just follows this last segment. So if they can just continue on with that one, then we can see that. Hopefully they'll get that going.
Okay.
And I concur with what you're saying about an individual being unique, because that's really what you're saying is you're doing uniquely what you do, and no one can replace what you are doing specifically because they're not you.
No, they're not me. I feel that when I'm engineering anything, it should be very highest quality without shortcutting anything. Mm-hmm. It's extremely important for me.
Uh-huh. Well, I wish they would find that footage in there. All they have to do is plug it on. I mean, it's the same tape, so I hope that they can come up with that briefly here. So what you're doing is moving all these things. Here we go. There we go. Look at the cannon. I love this cannonball. You got to watch this really closely.
Yeah.
And keep an eye on this pair of pliers on the right-hand side, too, because it will eventually fly up for the table. Mm-hmm. And that cannonball, how much does that weigh?
Well, that was a long time ago.
About
maybe,
13 pounds? Or
no, that was a 50-pounder.
Oh, 50
or
pounds.
50 or 75-pounder.
Oh, my gosh.
This is something that was there I put on the table. And had to use extra supporting with those buckets under there to keep it from collapsing. So.
Oh, my gosh.
But it's odd that it's just held there without it rolling off the table. And
it is. Plus, it looks like it's almost being rotated by hands.
Yeah.
You know, when it starts spinning around.
Like a ghost hand or something.
See, there went the pliers.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people like that particular part there about the cannonball for some reason.
Well, it starts turning. There it goes.
But it's got the interesting movements.
Look at
That's
that.
very jerky. That makes it look like it's
amazing.
extremely light in a way.
Yeah, it does.
Because of the inertial movements. Like inertia is weight and energy, and this thing seems to be just totally weightless and can just bob around.
Wow. That's so interesting. I mean, this is amazing that you're able to do this with energy from a distance. And that's just one example. I mean, what else could we be doing with that same energy?
Oh, actually quite a bit. I turned down a job at a nuclear facility in London was last year because it has the aspects of perhaps destroying nuclear waste.
Oh?
But I didn't want to sign the contracts. At this stage of my life, I just didn't want the secrecy stuff anymore. I didn't want any part of governments or secret and all that.
And they all want you to sign this secrecy document.
Secrecy document that takes the fun out of the creation of these
That's
things.
true.
So I turned down many job offers with hoping that Prince Liechtenstein...
Now, who is he?
Prince Hans Adam Liechtenstein owns a small country called Liechtenstein. And he has been interested in my work for 10 years and has had ideas, great ideas, of supporting me, and without any great restrictions, so that I could have a lot of time to myself to develop this technology. And I was actually looking at properties in Bodega, California.
Oh.
Close to Ken Shoulders, a hero of mine, a
yes,
scientist.
and Ken Shoulders. It was my hope someday to have him on the show.
He's a hero of mine. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Elizabeth Ann Rauscher, who's a hero of mine, too. Mm-hmm. And... but unfortunately, in '97, other things happened, and Prince Hans Adam sort of just went back away out of it for some unknown reason. I have no idea why. Probably third-party intervention again, which destroys the relationship. And this has happened recently in a Japanese situation, which we'll describe another time. So, nevertheless, the ideal thing is this type of investor, that you're not involved in stocks. You have somebody that you can develop on your own creative talents, and then bring it to Dr. Rauscher and Ken to pull out and extract and use as a practical source.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they know the mathematics, they know their ways of seeing things from these different angles. So, okay, we'll see what John is doing here with the geometric parts of it and that, and we could add this. So, and Mark Solis too now, who's involved with me quite a bit. So
that's good. And Mark is, for our audience who doesn't know Mark.
He's in my opinion, Mark is a super genius who has presented many fantastic programs that make NASA kind of small in a way that advance propulsion concepts with plasma thunder rocket ships to Mars in a week, big orbiting platforms that he has presented at IDCS conferences,
International
Propulsion Society conferences, and he actually won an award as #1 over Buzz Aldrin, who was #2.
Wow.
And such shows are attended by NASA personnel and also from from the Soviet Union, and Mrs. Roddenberry, who's
Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah. So Mark has made quite a name in this area. We converse maybe once or twice a week for many hours.
Now that's good. I think it's great when the scientific minds are able to talk back and forth to one another.
Yeah, but he's way above me. I learn a lot from Mark, from our conversations. We'll maybe spend half the time talking on these issues, and then the rest of the time we just clown around. We do voice imitations and this kind of stuff.
It's so funny.
I mean, Mark is Mark, and Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher is Rauscher. She likes to joke around too.
Yeah, so I think it's wonderful that you have that humorous side to you, because you're working with pretty sensitive material, and fine tuning and so forth, and you need a release of some kind. So I think, and you have a great sense of humor, so I'm sure it comes in handy.
Well, Dr. Werner von Frankenstein just said this, but it's. I look at it this way: that these energies are actually nature's secrets, really. And the tools are just, I'm a discoverer, I'm not an inventor. I don't like that word, inventor. I'm a discoverer of what exists in nature, and you use these machines to capture these things and then project it out, and you get these effects that are
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Anti-gravitational.
Yep.
You have developed this, you have this little flying saucer down here. That was gifted to you.
Yes. It didn't fall out through the roof or anything, but it just was gifted to me by the Canadian Postal Service, yes.
And you've made that fly in your room, levitate in your apartment.
Yes, I did. This little guy here, he... Well, it was a television company down in the United States. I won't mention their name. They're not worth whatever.
Careful, no.
So anyway, they inspired me to get all this equipment I have now in operation, which I spent about 7 days doing. And I was so busy that I was really busy, like super busy, because you've got 19-inch rack cabinets. You need to run cables and connections and voltages and all this stuff all over the place. And this is for B footage. I thought, well, no, this machine, if it's hooked up now, I can get this effect. And I was going on and on and on. Eventually, I got some dramatic levitation experiments. First being a plastic bottle that lifted up to the ceiling.
Yes, I saw that footage. It's amazing.
This is October the 11th, 1999.
Just last October.
Just last October. And this, I thought, well, if it can lift plastic, it should lift this thing. And it did.
It just flew it up to the ceiling.
It flew it up to the ceiling and it fell down. Then what I did was I turned the thing on so that Well, being on the carpet, it didn't move around. It's sort of like that.
Yeah.
And I waited a while, and then it lifted up very, very slowly.
Interesting.
And it stayed up on the ceiling going around like this.
Really?
It didn't come down. Like normally the object will fall down and hit the floor, but this thing kept going around and around, and I was trying to operate this camera, being a very poor camera person. I caught this thing going up, and I caught it then going around like this on the ceiling.
That is wild.
I knew I was also operating a high voltage servo motors to increase direct current above it, which helped it actually to go up. That's sort of cheating on the Hutchison effect, but I thought if I added more high tension stuff above it, that might draw that energy down or underneath it to get it going up in the air. So I was operating all this stuff and trying to operate the camera, and this guy was up there. And I believe after this demonstration, was it this demonstration? Yeah. That I walked over to pick it up, and then I noticed I was carrying the video camera with me, to video the thing on the floor. I walked over, and then I looked out the window and saw some people making some kind of a bit of a ruckus there. And
Let's just hold it right there. We've got to
Okay.
take a little break. We'll come back and
Sure.
finish the story.
Okay, for sure.
Okay. Stay tuned to this show, the Elaine Smith Show, Evolving Ideas, and we'll be right back with more from John Hutchison. Welcome back. I'm Elaine Smitha, and you're at the Elaine Smitha Show, Evolving Ideas, and we're having a discussion with John Hutchison, inventor scientist from Vancouver, BC, in Canada. And he's just been telling us a fascinating story about a levitation experiment that he was doing that eventually summoned attention of the neighbors, and that's where we're going to pick up the story. So what happened now, John?
Well, after examining this little UFO, carrying my video cam over and putting it back down, I noticed people across the street in a window looking directly over at my balcony, which is like an antenna farm in the first place.
You have a lot of antennas out there.
With Navy ship antennas.
Whoa.
And then I'm thinking maybe I disturbed them, because this is a Canadian holiday. Nobody was above me or below me or to my sides. And luckily I have a thick concrete wall as I use a main grounding thing. So anyway, these people were making sort of obscene gestures, were on the telephone, and I felt that
And pointing over at your place.
Yeah,
really?
and then the next thing I heard was sirens.
And you said, uh-oh.
Yeah, I said, oh no. Yeah, this is not good. So there was a red fire truck going past, and then I got part of that. It's a bit blurry, but then the police came. And I shut everything down, of course, and I listened for this New Westminster Police Department. I'm just sitting there like...
I'm hard of hearing. I can't hear a thing, right?
I'm just sitting there
Just
thinking...
totally ignoring them.
Yeah, sure. New Westminster Police Department. Anybody home? And then you hear some mumbling and grumbling. I guess they said, well, they didn't think anybody was home, and then they left. And I thought to myself, not answering the door, that anybody across the street saying that they saw this floating around or some other weird things
Can you
happening.
imagine their expression, what they thought when they saw this thing flying around? I mean, really. We would all probably say, what is going on over there?
Unless it's been known that these fields go right through over to other buildings and rattle their dishes and things like that.
Oh, really?
In the old days, yeah.
Pretty powerful stuff.
So I just ignored them and waited an hour and took my break, and then continued on with
What you were doing?
Yeah. And I was going to LA at this time, and a major TV company wanted to come up at the same time, and I said, well, I'll just give you all this B footage. And that was the inspirational thing. So I then finished all the experiments, powered everything down, neatly put all the cables away, vacuumed everything, made sure everything was nice and quiet, packed my bags, and was ready for LA. And went down there and went up to Yin and
That's
said,
your lady friend.
yeah, I said, Yin, do you want film rights to this stuff? And she just brushed it off. Then we went to see these people, and then they never aired it because Yin just cut it off. She didn't want them to have the stuff.
Yeah.
So in a way, if this is aired on your TV show, it's going to be the first of the new stuff after all these years.
That would be wonderful. Well, we will get it up. I'm going to have to.
It's fairly clear too. Nice.
Yeah.
And some of it's quite exotically weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird.
It's
But it's exciting.
I think it can be explained by the magnetron pulsations that I was hand operating it.
Okay,
Switching.
this is a good thing to bring up now. Let's talk about the magnetron, because some people don't know what a magnetron is.
Well, take your microwave oven. That's your magnetron. Basically, it's a magnetron or a microwave oven. It's just that the frequency is so high it heats things up very rapidly. And it's fairly low power, a magnetron oven. But these magnetrons are off a warship, a 400-foot warship. And they're about like that, huge things. And they're maybe about 100 times stronger than your microwave. Mm. But I have behind this main, you call the main radar, a magnetron power supply where I can use household mains to operate this thing.
Now that means 110 volts.
110 volts.
60
and
watts.
I can tune the grid current, I can tune plate current, pulse width, all the fine tuners and that to a magnetron, so which I was doing. And although got the rep rates and pulse rates okay, I had to manually turn the thing, actually reversing the polarities on the magnets that go to the magnetron itself. Mm-hmm. So there was an eddy, almost like an eddy skin effect on some of these pieces. Yes, they jump around to the switching, timing of the switching. And the further away these samples were from the magnetron, the less they would jump around back and forth or attack.
So there was a relationship between them.
Oh yeah, very interesting.
In distance. Now, is this where the ball and the cigarette packet? I mean, we got to get this footage up. It is hilarious.
It's unbelievable.
It is so funny.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And our control room will get that ready so that we can show that, because it's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And we were watching it today just to preview and bursting out in hilarious laughter. I've never seen anything quite like this. And yeah, you just have such extraordinary skill with this kind of thing, and I want to really share that with the viewers. And while we're waiting for that clip to come up, this is really related to poltergeists as well, and I wanted to be sure that I brought this up because some people have heard about things, doors banging and steps, they hear footsteps in their places and noise in the walls and
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and so how this fits into this?
Very close relationship to poltergeist energies, which poltergeist energies, I understand, could be created from the mind of an individual traveling on a wavelength of 24 centimeters, approximately, give or up and down on that bandwidth.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting research on poltergeist effects. It does stem from a human being.
It does not.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is this an entity that has passed the plane and is come back in some spirit form?
I don't think
many believe?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a way that the mind itself can tap into. Is this again the 0-point energy? The U.S. government does a lot of experiments with it in this area of remote viewing, of also making certain things happen at a distance through psychotronics. And the scientific teams have many articles in the database in Washington, D.C. on this kind of stuff.
And this all falls in the same category.
CIA has a great interest. NSA and DIA have an interest in this kind of stuff. And right now, this is quite a... Right now, they're really interested in it to research it out. And a lot of new evidence has come to light through the Sony labs in Tokyo.
Oh,
That
really?
there's trace when somebody's trying to remote view something through a solid wall. There is something when they make a hit. There's a field there that is to the brain rhythms like a sideband.
How interesting. And
That-
Sony Corporation is doing things
Oh
with
yeah,
this?
they're just amazingly involved in all this stuff,
Interesting.
and so is a lot of U.S. Government agencies are involved in this. I think Dr. Jan Roberts or something like that in the universities there back east, Oxford. Anyway, he's discovered certain frequencies where all this activity takes place, and it's interesting to note that 24 centimeters, at 21 centimeters, hydrogen comes from space from what they call through another dimension out into existence in our real universe.
Really?
Mhm.
That's really close.
Yeah, it's a
We're
close
we're
relation.
playing in some interesting ranges there.
Yeah, this is accepted astronomical science
Wow.
or cosmological science.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to know more about that.
John Hutchison has been working in the areas of electromagnetic forces and the changes in the molecular structure of materials for many years. He has in this time achieved a breakthrough in anti-gravity knowledge, providing spectacular examples of heavy objects flying through the air without any visible signs of propulsion.
So, what other examples do you have to share with us about this zero-point energy and the levitation, anti-gravity, and all that kind of thing? Probably just the anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity could revolutionize the space industry.
How so?
Well, if you don't need all this horrendous amounts of rocket fuel to levitate something up into the sky and out into space. All these technologies like computer sciences and all around have to go in a way they should go in unison. So we have nuclear waste problems. Well, we have then a gravitational force that can take this stuff and dump it in the sun, let's say nuclear waste.
Whoa.
Or we have population, we want to keep on continue populating, we can then terraform, let's say, Mars or the moon.
Don't you think they're kind of contemplating that now?
Yeah, there's programs in the works at NASA and also Advanced Concepts Office in NASA doing this kind of stuff. And it's slowly getting out to the stars. So we do need advanced propulsion technologies because you're not going to rely on old rocket ships that pollute everything and really don't get anywhere and explode once in a while. I think that harnessing gravitational powers and energy, it's going to take us beyond light speed. It's already been proven that you can go faster than light through the Chernoff radiation effect. That's a U.S. government document I got, and it's quite a lot of people know of it.
Are there any prototypes that the public doesn't know about that they're working on for that?
They're trying to work with antimatter, but I think that's a little dangerous. It's Los Alamos is working with antimatter, antiprotons and that, and they have manuals on how it would take $10 million, this is 1988 estimates, to make 1 milligram of pure antimatter. I think it's rather too brutal to use antimatter. It's extremely dangerous too. Why not just understand what gravity really is? And it's probably right down to time particles and gravitons. It's a subatomic reaction.
And gravitons are?
Gravitons are just gravity particles that make things way heavy. Like it takes all of our Earth to make this heavy. Which is really, when you consider it, that's a lot of area to make this thing weigh something. Which means that it's, in other words, it's a very weak force and can be manipulated quite easily.
Well, I think the obvious that it can be manipulated, the fact that you could literally soften that metal to almost a melting point for it to pull apart and then re-solidify. Mm-hmm. It tells you there that you know it's moldable.
Let's go, sure. And then, luckily, Ken Shoulders has replicated a small portion of that, of the metal that turns liquid but has no heat to it. So Ken is getting close to understanding which is good. It's understanding some of my work, and Richard Hull has discovered that certain parts of his apparatus turn invisible. You can see them. Much like the Canadian government's analysis of the Super 8 film shows that certain frames of samples are they call it semi-transparency. You can see right through the samples and see what's underneath them.
Really?
Yeah. This is on Super 8, not video.
Wow.
Which is good scientific stuff to use Super 8 on such experiments.
Interesting. You and I were having a little conversation about magnets, as we were talking magnetrons, and there are people who are using magnets for healing, and you had made a comment about that. Could you reiterate that?
Well, yes, I think that magnetics for healing is quite a very beneficial thing because the body's nucleic acids are slightly magnetic. And when that happens, using magnets for healing is that you're setting up proper ionic bonds to your inner electrobiochemistry. And another one of my heroes in the alternative health is Dr. Julian Whitaker, who suggests using magnets for healing. And don't forget, when using the old copper bands,
yes,
around there, well, the copper actually would penetrate through the skin and form SOD. And then,
SOD.
Yeah,
superoxide dismutase.
Yep. It's by penetration through the skin.
Well, I think this brings up an interesting point. I mean, this is off of levitation, but it's dealing with the magnets, which is very interesting. I think for many years, they didn't think that, the skin was pervious to anything. And, you put something on it, didn't matter.
Yeah, really.
Forgetting that it's the membrane of the body, and it has cell receptors, and
They have cell receptors.
picking up everything.
Plus the salts. You take DMSO. You just take a little tiny bit of DMSO, rub it on your skin, or essential oils. Well, you can taste that within seconds.
It's true.
Yeah, and people say, oh, you smell like an oyster. Well, I took some DMSO or MSM. I mean, there's, in alternative medicine, so many fast-moving breakthroughs that, well, I've been on a life extension thing for, about nine years now, and the results are like, wow.
Well, you're very youthful, John.
Why, thank you.
Well, this is really kind of off of our subject, but I think it's fascinating.
It is. There's so much area out there.
Yeah, there really is. And I think the idea that we can manipulate materials and have them fly around in space, I'm sure is going to bring up, our spaceships and whether we're doing it and whether they're coming in from outer space or what's happening. So what's your take on this?
Oh, it's, my opinion is that it's got to happen. I mean, it's going to change, for one thing, for our planet, for ecology-wise, it's going to help it get rid of all these pollutants. We'll be able to travel a lot faster to the stars and we'll be able to move massive payloads without huge, incredible, monstrous rocket-type technologies. So I think it's a benefit to mankind, all these things.
Do you think that we'll ever have little units that we would park in our driveway instead of an automobile that would be an anti-gravity vehicle?
All this stuff's going to come.
Seems like years ago there were some pictures of this happening in some science review thing.
Always, these things do happen. Gene Roddenberry's world is coming true. And other great scientific writers and seers, all this stuff will come true. Right down to the Fountain of Youth, well, that's pretty well true anyway now. To gravity, to propulsion technologies, energies, it's all coming true. And the old hogwash man, of course, will always be around saying, oh, it's impossible. But they've been around since the turn of the century.
That's true, the naysayers.
Yep.
Well, the government has been very much involved in these spaceships, even though they deny it. And we know out of Area 51 that there's things that are going on there.
Oh, lots of good stuff and bad. I had a friend from Jane's Aviation Weekly come see me, and then after he came to see me in '98, he went to do a 2-hour TV show on Area 51 and found that he called it the Widow's Driveway or the Widow's Road, where a lot of people that worked at Area 51 got radiation sickness. Yep. And they could not talk about what they were doing or why they were sick. They would see the doctors. The doctors couldn't do anything for them. And then they passed away from the radiation sicknesses. They couldn't talk about why they were irradiated. So Nick did all of this research, put it on a famous network for 2 hours, and I'll be seeing Nick this coming spring again, and we're going to talk about certain aspects. So Area 51 and the government guys, like, you know, they're just getting a little bit, they should have informative programs on what they're doing, because, you know, a lot of people are interested. The more they keep quiet, the more there's going to be like, they want to just climb over the fence and see what the heck's going on here. These people have got to open up a little more and say, well, of course there are excuses. In that matter of national security, you can't do this because then the bad people will find out and all this. But I think that they have to be a little more open to the public on what they're really doing.
Are there other governments, do you think, who are working on this?
Oh, yeah, sure. Even our Canadian government, all small as it may be, they have their own Star Wars strategic weapons system.
Really?
In Ottawa, sure. I can even name the guys involved in that, and I got letters from them right in these books here. Yep. Oh yeah, they know.
So there's a lot of scientific stuff that's going on that they don't want the public to know about.
Oh sure.
I mean, HARP project, for instance.
The HARP project, sure. The HARP project, propulsion projects. The biggest thing going now is genetics. The U.S. government's solicitation handbook, SBIR program that any large company knows about, that they get a hold of. Third of that book is on biochemistry.
Really?
Yeah. In the Ronald Reagan Star Wars program, it was just basically no biomedics in there. Now, that was in the 80s. Now in the 90s, the late 90s, 1/3 is dedicated to bio.
So what are they going to do? What's the government's intention?
They're afraid of something. They're afraid of. They want answers to the problems of pollution, to anthrax, to different threats of other countries dumping some kind of horrendous virological weapon. They're looking to people for antidotes. They're not to prevent. They seem to be putting up a wall of prevention in this biomedics and genetic engineering.
Is that what the contrails are about?
I videotaped those when I was in LA with my video cam as I went down there, carrying my video cam, you know, all around LA, and I seen these things going across there. I videotaped them.
Yeah.
How weird this is. And these things would spread out and spread out and spread out until they cover all over the Sherman Oaks area where I was videotaping. So I'm thinking, you know, something really, this is crazy. Like, you're blotting out the sun. I mean, here you have a huge population in California. Like, why aren't they up in arms? So my curiosity gets going really high, and I come back to Canada and phone Environment Canada and said, well, what is this, all these tracks running all over the sky for? Well, this is because it's what happens when the aircraft blah, 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 blah. It's ice crystals. And I'm thinking, yeah, really? Like, can a tiny little airplane make that much, like, miles-wide ice crystals? I'm thinking, like, what kind of story am I getting told here now? Why, you know, it's blotting out its sun. That's an environmental problem. And it totally wipes the sun right off.
So they're creating the problems in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's to forward an agenda?
I often wonder. I hear so many things happening out there that they want to control the population. They want to take the population's right to bear and own arms away from them. They want to take the population's right to own vitamins and minerals away from them, which they already took away in Europe and Australia. Australia is very well done in. No, you can't own surplus electronics. You can't own vitamins. You can't own firearms. You can't own anything except just terrible stuff. That's what I'm told by my Australian contacts and what I read in the newspapers. So, unfortunately, the governments are trying to control the citizenry. Oh, well, yeah, some kid shot a school up. Well, they don't tell the truth. They don't say, well, the kid was on Prozac. Prozac makes certain individuals extremely violent. They don't know what they're doing. As Dr. Julian Whitaker again pointed out in his newsletter, why these things are happening. So they say, well, we'll take all the guns away and everything will be okay again. Well, not really. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Because you have gun factories making these cheap, junky pieces of stuff that they sell out there. And so, again, it's one of these silly problems that it's not going to work.
That's not going to work. Okay, in our last a little bit of time together, I want to talk about how you have gained access to the Canadian battleships. Because that's a great story.
The Canadian battleships. Oh, that's so cute. Well, some scrap dealer told me that, do you ever heard of the Artificial Reef Society, John? I said, no, I don't think so. Well, okay. So I found out it was just in walking distance from me. So I'm going down there, and I've always had a fascination with warships. I think they're the neatest darn things around. I love warships, and even spaceships. I mean, I love these things. I'm like, wow. So I go up there, and I said, can I buy things from here? And they said, well, yes, you can. So I did buy some things, and I came back later, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking about this whole thing. I'm making decisions. And I just sat down and started cleaning metal. That means separating the metals. And then they hired me. And I learned that what this ship was used in the X-Files.
Oh, really?
Yep, the Mackenzie, HMCS Mackenzie, HMCS Columbia.
Interesting.
So I got the set off of HMCS Columbia of the submarine story on the X-Files. And I grabbed that and took it all at home. And I was put in charge, third in command of the ships, to sell the electronics at
Really?
to the population if they wanted to come on the ship and buy anything. Also, my responsibility was to make sure the two cannon rooms were cleaned out, and the cannons were all cleaned and taken apart, and all the metals used for salvage. And in the other very unusual kind of situation, I would tackle these problems. So I acquired antennas and countermeasures equipment and all kinds of radar equipment, sonar. And I'd have fun in the storerooms where packages like this of electronic components were wrapped up, and I could go through them with my little knife, ripping open because they're all military designations.
So you can have access to rip them apart now because you put
They're
your
mine.
own.
Mine.
They're yours
mine.
now.
And I thought, all I need is somebody with a video cam sitting there filming and a Christmas tree. It just looked perfect. With all these brown boxes laying all over the place.
Yeah, that's right. Christmas.
I spent weeks going through these boxes and aha! Gee, that's what I need. Okay, and it was hilarious.
That's really fascinating. Well, you have an apartment. You live on the third floor.
Third floor.
And you have things, you have all this electronic equipment lining all the walls, the ceiling.
Yep.
And I don't know, you probably don't have it laying on the floor because you'd be walking over it. Or do you?
Well, it's taking up most of the floor space. I got sonar sets, radar sets, I got directional finders, I got radios and communication stuff. Not all from the Navy ship, even some came from Fair Radio in Ohio and other sources. It keeps coming in, and I keep making space for it.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how you manage. But you need all this equipment to run all your experiments.
Oh, not all of it. Some of it's neat treasure, like this is neat. I like this. This is made.
So you're collecting neat things too.
Yeah. All military specification stuff.
That's
Anything
interesting.
plastic goes out the door real quick.
Well, you don't need that. Wow, this is really fascinating. Well, I think it's wonderful. That's a great way to get a laboratory going because you didn't really have to invest a lot of money into it. And you have everything you need to run your experiments on anti-gravity and levitation.
Well, I got this accomplishes through a lot of energy and work for 10 years because nobody helped me on this. And I let one of my colleagues know that I did this, George Hathaway, and he sends me a fax back saying, can I be of help? Did Dr. Franklin Mead contact me? And all these things, I got the fax in here, the famous books. And I just sent back George Hathaway. I said, George, I don't want any part of the 1980s ever again. Remember the story about the little red hen?
Yes, the little red hen.
Yep.
That's right.
The little red hen. So then that
That ended that.
this is a self-funded project, and I have no interest in any funds or investors or listening to their claptrap and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
you just didn't want to owe your allegiance to anybody.
no way.
John, we've come to the end of our show.
Okay.
And I want to thank you so much. We've just been talking nonstop and having a really good time. So I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with my viewers.
Oh, I really appreciate being here again.
And we're going to do another one together, I'm sure.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And to my viewers, I'd love to have you join me next time when we explore another avenue of our universe and our relationship to it. I'm Elaine Smitha.